Welcome to Sharsheret's 5th annual UnSeder, a time we've designed to bring you from the physical preparation, the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping for the upcoming holiday, to the deeper preparation that will enable you to have a meaningful holiday, even in the face of difficult times, including cancer. Again, thank you for being here. I am particularly excited for our program today. We have some dear old friends and some exciting new ones joining us. But before I begin, some quick housekeeping items to share. First, I'd like to thank Daiichi Sankyo, Merck, and the Cooperative 1906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Their generosity allows us to continue to offer meaningful programs and important support, just like today's. As a reminder that today's UnSeder is being recorded and will be posted on Sharsheret's website along with a transcript, but of course, as always, participants' names and faces will not be in the recording. You also have the option to be anonymous during today's live webinar. The instructions were just placed in the chat box. Additionally, we now have closed captions available. The instructions to activate them are in the chat box now. I want to remind you that Sharsheret has been providing telehealth services to the breast and ovarian cancer communities for more than 20 years. In addition to our many formal programs to help women and their families navigate different aspects of the cancer experience, our clinical social workers and our genetic counselor are available for one-on-one support. And as always, our support services are 100% confidential and 100% free. I'm Melissa Rosen, and I'll be your moderator today. I serve as the Director of Training and Education for Sharsheret, but so many of my wonderful colleagues work to create this innovative program and are joining us today. Although it was the start of the pandemic that led us to create the UnSeder, the focus today is about celebrating Passover while living along cancer, whether currently or years ago. Today's program will focus on the impact of four. Four appears many times and in many ways throughout the Pesach Seder, more than I expected when I did the research. We have 4 questions and 4 cups of wine. There are actually 4 pieces of matzah on the Seder table, once you break one to use as the afikomen. During the Seder, we hear 4 promises of redemption. I will take you out, I will save you, I will deliver you, and I will take you and make you a people. There are 4 names for the holiday of Passover, right? We have Chag HaPesach, or Passover, Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzah, Chag HaAviv, the holiday of spring, and I hope you are all in a place now that feels spring-like, and Chag Zman Cherotenu, the time of our freedom, the holiday of our freedom. And then, of course, there are the 4 sons, as they are traditionally known. Some call them the 4 children. It is the 4 sons that we are diving deep into today, what each of them represents and what they may represent as a whole. In fact, some believe that the reason the number 4 is so prominent in the Seder is that it represents totality, completeness. That is an interesting concept to explore, and to do that, let's welcome our first guest. So our first guest is Jane Shapiro. She is one of the founders of OROT, the Center for New Jewish Learning, based in Chicago. She has been a teacher to many over the last 30 years in classes ranging from weekly Torah study to Jewish thought, history, and literature. As Associate Director of the Florence Melton School, she worked with teachers across North America and Israel to develop good pedagogic practices. And she has consulted with organizations ranging from American Jewish Committee, the Jewish Theological Seminary, Camp Ramah, Spertus Institute, and the Jewish Federations of North America. Jane received her doctorate in education from JTS, the Jewish Theological Seminary. She is a graduate of the Mendel Teacher Educators Institute and the Visions of Jewish Education Projects. She received a prestigious Educators Award from the Covenant Foundation and was featured in an Ellie talk on the Torah of Bubbyhood, which I have to track down because that sounds simply wonderful to me. Jane, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's such a privilege and an honor always to be with my Sharsheret family. So I want to wish you all a gratitude for being able to be here. So I think that perhaps more than any other year that all of us are entering Pesach this year on a personal level, a family level, a local community level, an American Jewish level, an Israel level, a global level in a totally different way than we ever have before. And that spending the time now to think about how do we want to move into Pesach in all those different ways is really critical and will make a difference in our holiday this year. So I want to take up the topic of 4, also because I'm the mother of 4 sons. So this is always, my children love to, this prayer comes up and they feel like it was designed for them. But so this year, in looking, I thought like, it gave me a chance to really look with attention at this prayer. And I noticed something at the very beginning, even before we get to the 4 children, where most of the commentaries say, there's 4 different types of learners, 4 different types of Jews. We have to include all of them. And most of the commentaries say that same thing. We're going in another direction this year. The first line of the prayer of the statement has a 4 that is hidden. I never noticed before until this year. Baruch hamakom, Baruch hu. Baruch shenatan Torah li'amo Yisrael, Baruch hu. There's 4 blessings there. 4 baruchs is 4 blessings. And it seems to be some kind of a blessing that's thank you, God, for giving us the Torah. And I feel like it's in the same way that we read a blessing before we unroll the Torah scroll and read from the Torah scroll, that little beginning, that tag at the beginning before the content of the main body of the prayer is inviting us to think about the many different ways that we approach and study Torah. Most specifically, the Seder is, I want to say, it's not a class. We are invited through this blessing into the next prayer, which is about what does it mean to experience the Seder, is to think about it and remind us like 4 times. This is not an academic class. This is not a lecture or a Zoom about a Seder. A Seder invites us to study Torah in a different way by experiencing it. And the Pesach Seder is all about experiencing coming out of Egypt, the experiences in the desert, the experience in Jerusalem, imagining a future time, also a 4. Okay. So we want to really just put ourselves into it and think about how we can bring our vitality and a personal approach to ideas in the Torah. So that's where I want to go. I want us to look back at this story of the 4 individuals and see if we can put some personal vitality and life in it. So I started to look again at this 4 and 4, okay, that's nice. I thought, like, where is the first 4 people, a group of 4 in the Torah? And the answer became obvious to me, like, it's the 4 matriarchs. There are 4 mothers in the book of Genesis and Bereshit that they're not necessarily mentioned in the Seder, all right? But that's the 4. And so I thought, I'm going to take my origin point now is through my personal study reenacting of the Seder this year, that Baruch HaMakom, through the 4 matriarchs. And lo and behold, no surprise, it seemed to be that the 4 matriarchs map on very well to the 4 descriptions in that prayer. The first one, let's think about the first one. We could think about Sarah fitting into the Chacham role. Why Sarah and the Chacham? If you looked in the very beginning of the Torah in Parshat Lech Lecha, Sarah is in from the beginning. She's a partner to Abraham. She's involved with all of the things about leaving, going into the land, going to Egypt, coming back. She is really seen. It means wise. Thank you, Melissa. Chacham means wise. Sarah is a wise one because she's clued in to everything. Everything that Abraham is doing, she's a partner to him. So she's a Chacham. She also had the original invitation. Leave your home, go into the land, and I'll make a promise to you. So Sarah, of course, fits perfectly as being a Chacham in some way. And so I want to think about her when I get to that first part of that prayer. Then comes Rebecca, who in the lineup of the prayer might be identified as the Rasha, the challenging one or the evil one, the wicked one. I think little bit rebellious, challenging in some way, is how I like to think about Rebecca. So what do we know about Rebecca? Rebecca comes from the place that Abraham and Sarah originally came from. Abraham sends his servant all the way back to his hometown to bring a wife for Isaac. So to that extent, she begins her life as an outsider to the family in some way. And so when they go to get her, then in Genesis, and say, "Will you go with this servant and me?" She goes, and she agrees to leave her home, leave her family of origin, and go and join by marrying Isaac, joining this clan. So in some ways, Rebecca's issue is the issue of what does it mean to be an outsider in my family? That's constantly her thing, which is exactly what the Rasha is trying to figure out. Like, what role do I play? Maha avodah hazot lachem. It's seen as this Rasha way, but it's also like, what part, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in this family? And we know that she's somebody who really grapples with that. Even when she has a very difficult pregnancy, she says, Im kenim lama ze anochi. She asks an existential question, not unlike these questions in the prayer. What is the purpose of my life? Who am I? So I think of Rebecca as asking these questions like, who am I? What is my purpose? And who am I vis-a-vis my community? As being the one that fits just neatly in the Rasha column. Similarly to how Sarah kind of like, yeah, I've got the body of knowledge. I had the original experience with Abraham, and I'll figure out how I fit in. Then we come to Leah, who might be seen as a Tom, because she says, Maza, what is this? Maza, this kind of open-ended question of inquiry. It's Maza, it's just a totally open-ended question. Education, we love kids to ask open-ended questions. We like to ask open-ended questions. And I think that Leah is the person. It can mean simple, it can mean pure. I like to think of it open-ended. Leah is somebody who is always looking around. She has one baby after another. And it feels to me like Leah is the one who's looking around for these signs. She does not know necessarily that God has said, like, all right, she's the sister who's not in the favor of the husband so much as her sister. She has a sister relationship with her sisters. Her life is challenging, but then she keeps having these children. Okay, and Maza, and she keeps naming these children. So if you look in Genesis, and I'm going to give you the chapter if you want to look it up afterwards. In chapter 29 is the story of Rachel and Leah, and as she keeps giving symbolic, significant names to her children. It's like, Maza, I have a child. Now I have another one. What does this mean to me? Is that she comes to understand that God has rewarded her, that she has this relationship, or that what she experiences has a purpose. All right. And that she's not without that, but it comes from this sort of Maza inquiry mode, being open to watching what's happening around her. And so that's Leah. And then comes Rachel. Rachel is the one who's she'eno yodei lishol, who doesn't know how to ask. And the task of the person there is at petachlo. You have to open up for them. She doesn't know how to ask. And Rachel, in contrast to Leah, Rachel looks to Jacob and she says, give me children or I will die, she says, which is what happens to her. She, give me children. And so it seems fairly clear that Rachel, she can't figure out what's going on around her. Unlike her sister, who ponders, who asks, who looks at what's happening and then tries to make sense of it. Rachel just seems to kind of be under the pressures of what she's under. And Jacob says to her, is like, I'm not withholding children from this is your relationship with God. Rachel is the one who steals her father's idols, causes herself some trouble, all right? And she's a tragic character, all right? So she seems unable to understand what's going on around her. And she suffers with an unknown condition that she experiences. So this year, I want to take all four of these matriarchs, my grandmothers, our grandmothers, with me into the Seder and embrace the moving into Passover in the Seder. Think about, like, what are the assumptions that I brought before that I always knew? Where am I vis-a-vis my community as a Jewish woman in the Jewish Passover? And how am I making sense of these things? All right. And that I want to suggest to all of us, the matriarchs are all within us. They are our grandmothers. We have all four of these grandmothers within us, right? and that we are their children. And that the more we think about them and receive wisdom from them and from their lived experiences, it will help us think about our own lived experiences as Jewish women now, in this time, in this year, in these days, and that they become a source of personal Torah for us. So.
Sorry. Thank you so much. Those were wonderful insights. I love how you finished and brought it right back to where we need to be right now. I'm really grateful for that, and I look forward to hearing from you again in a little bit. Now, I want to bring to our screen, as I'm adding, there you go. I want to bring to our screen, I have the pleasure of introducing Alana Brody. Kohenet Alana is an acclaimed singer-songwriter. She's a song leader, a Hebrew priestess rooted in rural Appalachia with a decade of Jewish life and leadership in New York City. She's in the Aleph Rabbinic Ordination Program and is a rising star in both Jewish and secular music and leadership. For those of you who read the email from me, you know that she has worked with Bobby McFerrin, with Simon Cowell. Alana creates ritual spaces and musical experiences that move the soul with a deep love for the divine and for Mother Earth that resources all her work. Alana serves as a visionary prayer leader and founder of a blooming ritual community for earth-based Judaism based in Asheville, North Carolina. Today, she will be singing 2 original songs that seem perfect for this time of year. The first one is called Living a Miracle, and as she starts, I will get the lyrics up on the screen. Welcome, Alana.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you to everyone here for having me. It's an honor to be with all of you. I wrote this song 2 years ago for Pesach, right in the Pesach season, as it was just clear to me that as a survivor of 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 things in my own life, every day I am living a miracle, and to be a Jew is to be living a miracle. And so it is such an honor to sing this for all of you here at Sharsheret. Who's like you?
Wow, simply beautiful. And those lyrics just remind me of how similar the emotions are when we are let out of slavery and as we are dealing with cancer. So thank you so much. And I'm excited that we'll be welcoming you back for another song in just a short bit. Thank you, Alana. Okay, now, oops. Hi, Jane. Well, we're getting you back in a second. There we go. Okay. Wow, that was beautiful. Okay, now I want to welcome to our screen Shara Dubitsky. Many of you already know Shara. She has been a part of the Sharsheret community for quite some time, serving as the past director of support services here, where her primary focus was speaking with women living with advanced cancer. She currently serves as a special advisor to the clinical team. Shara is now a therapeutic coach who has earned 3 master's degrees in clinical, counseling, and educational psychology, and completed the coursework and clinical training toward a doctoral degree in clinical psychology. She is a certified school psychologist and has earned a professional life coach certification. She has over 30 years of working with children and families living with trauma. She served as a consultant in schools and as an advisor to several nonprofit organizations, both nationally and abroad. And she frequently lectures across the country on varying topics, including navigating day-to-day experiences, managing the emotional impact of illness, parenting, and spirituality. Shara, welcome back to the screen.
Thank you, Melissa. At another time, we're going to have to talk about my placements in speaking on these events, because I always am placed after the most beautiful performances and I get completely verklempt. So it's hard to do that. So we're going to have to revisit that at some point.
You got it.
You know, when Jane was speaking, again, I get lost and forget that I'm actually also presenting. And I took many notes for what Jane had to offer. So Jane, thank you so much. There's so much to think about. And before I get into some of the thoughts that I had, you know, as Jane was speaking about the matriarchs, I was thinking about the thousands and thousands of women who have called into Sharsheret, and they are all these people, right? You and the other women who have called, right? So we have people, sorry, I took notes. You know, we have people who call us and they're like, no, I got this, but I just want to make a connection, right? The wise one. And then we have, you know, the rebellious one where it's like, you know, what's my purpose here? How do I fit in? You know, again, what she was saying, and they're reaching out to Sharsheret to kind of figure that out. And then we have the simple one where it's like, what is this? What is going on in my life? Like, do I even have cancer? Like, I have the BRCA mutation, like, kind of what is this? And then, you know, also people who come in and calling Sharsheret who really have a hard time figuring out really what's going on. And the goal, hopefully, is for her or a family member to get some clarity. So we've got a lot of fabulous women calling in with a lot of moxie and wisdom, and it's really an incredible community. So I wanted to just say that. Now, when I was thinking about the four sons and how I wanted to come about this, I wanted to really tailor it more towards a cancer experience. So let's start off with the wise one. So when I think about a cancer experience for the wise one, I think that, the goal is to learn about the ins and outs of the cancer world. And being wise also means showing a good learning curve and having to navigate the cancer journey. I think that the goal is to be wise in gathering information so that you can really make decisions that make sense for you and your family. Having the wisdom to pivot sometimes medically and emotionally, right? So you could be going along and everything is okay, and you kind of have to pivot. And, I hope for all of us and all of you who are on the call today, to have the wisdom of knowing when to make that pivot. I think it's wise to understand your strengths and challenges and the strengths and challenges of your friends and family. And it's wise to know yourself and to know how to advocate for yourself. So that's the wise one. Then, transitioning a little bit to the rebellious one, sometimes it's hard to advocate for yourself, right? So even though that that's the wise and sage thing to do, I think that sometimes people are hesitant in doing that because you don't want to be the difficult patient, right? And, if you're the difficult patient, are you going to get the same care and the same level of care and the same attention as people who are the compliant patient? And I think that sometimes it's hard to find the balance between being the compliant patient and the advocate. I think other ways that I've seen people fall into the category of rebelliousness is, people push back, right? So, a lot of times advice that women and family members get is like, this is the new normal, right? This is the new normal. And I recently had somebody I started working with. She goes, you know what? I wasn't looking for a new normal. I kind of liked my old normal, right? And so, you feel like you want to push back on that. You may feel a little pissy towards people in your life, and you just kind of need a break from them, right? And, pushing back in that. And quite frankly, they may need a break from you too. So that's where, we could bring the wisdom back in again. You may feel rebellious when you have family and friends who don't follow your lead, and they're imposing their unsolicited advice on you, right? And you want to rebel against that and, kind of set people straight. You may feel done with the emotional and physical fatigue and this whole cancer thing to begin with. And you just want to be like, I'm done. I'm just done. The third son that we talk about is the simple one. And between seeing the doctors and going for treatment and working and, dating or taking care of your children, you can feel overloaded and you just kind of glaze over, right? You just kind of want to simplify. You may be functioning on autopilot, and just going through the motions. And you know what? Sometimes you just want to say, you know what? The heck with it. I just want to kick up my feet, read a magazine, watch a show, and just simplify my life, right? Even if it's for the moment. And I think that, simplifying is also really important in the cancer journey. And the last son, is the one who doesn't know how to ask. So, over the many years that I've been affiliated with Sharsheret, it amazes me that when a woman is diagnosed, she is asked to cram years of medical school and internships and residencies and fellowships into just a few weeks. And now, she's making these medically life-altering decisions, right? And it's hard to know what to ask. And it's hard to know who to ask and what you should even be asking. Many women and family members struggle with, questions like, I don't know, I have a question about this, or I'm having some sort of symptom. Do I call the doctor? Again, I don't want to be a difficult patient. So when do I even ask my questions? Many of you or your loved ones think, I don't even want to ask the questions because I'm afraid of what the answers may be. Also, you may have family and family members or friends who don't want to ask because they don't want to trigger emotions for you. And therefore, a lot of people are dealing with this in isolation because they don't want to put things out there because they're afraid to set off an emotional response. Also, we find a lot of women saying, I did what I had to do just to get myself out of the house and to go shopping or go to my kids' sports thing or go to, a simcha, a wedding or a bar mitzvah, or even just going to synagogue. And you know what? You don't want people coming up and asking, how are you? Right? I led a group many years ago for women living with advanced cancer, and they coined the phrase broken neck syndrome, right? So what is that? So they say it's kind of like when people come over to you and they say, how are you? And you're like, I'm okay. And then they're like, no, but really, how are you? Right. And so I think that sometimes you don't want to have those questions when you're out there in your world. So, like Jane said, all of these representations live within us and within our family and friends. So, anybody whose life has been touched by cancer, you know that the cancer journey is messy. Every day you may feel wise and rebellious and simple and lost and angry and sad and overwhelmed and happy and guilty and silly and ambitious and quiet and playful and reflective. The only thing that changes from day to day is the ratio of how much you feel each of those things each day. It's not about having a good day or a bad day. It's kind of like, what are the ratios for that day? Because you're going to have a full range of experiences. So lean in and try to embrace the experience. Engage in self-care. Advocate for yourself and show grace to yourself and to others. Communication is key. Remember that you're part of your treatment team. So ask questions and advocate for yourselves. Also, try to create cancer-free zones. Be simple, right? Try to create cancer-free zones where you don't have to talk about cancer. So I once had a woman who said, I have a really good friend of mine who never asked me about my diagnosis or my treatment. Like she just never asked me. So I said to her, she's a keeper. So why is she a keeper? Because sometimes you're going to want cancer-free zones, and she's the person that you're going to want to call for that. And lastly, it may be tempting to turn to the 4 glasses of wine and wanting to turn to the 4 glasses of wine when you're feeling so overwhelmed by this. And so we're not advocating that. But when it does feel overwhelming for you and you just want to talk something through, reach out to Sharsheret for support and for information and for resources. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Shara. As always, insightful and just the right amount of funny. So we appreciate that. Now we're going to welcome Alana back to the screen for another beautiful piece. This one is called B'Shem Hashem, Angels of Peace. I'm going to share my screen again with the lyrics.
Thank you.
Here we go.
All right, can you all hear me? Probably can. this song, I want to mention the curiosity I had when Melissa told me that you all would be speaking about the number 4 and how it relates and how present it is at our Pesach Seder. And this song also, this prayer that we say before bed to call in the angels, we're also calling in 4, and we're connecting to the quality of the number 4. And 4 is such a stable number, actually. It's like a square. Every corner is on the earth. And we do talk about gathering ourselves from the 4 corners of the earth into the oneness before the Shema. And so really feeling that quality of 4 to stabilize us in our journeys, and our journey through the Seder, or our journeys into sleep, or our journeys through illness, or through any sort of adversity that's in our life. So I really feel that this song, which came through just the first week of the pandemic for me, it's all about holding and protecting and keeping myself safe and well held by that stability, as there's so much unknown ahead and always with our journeys. And so I just want to, before I play this, also offer a blessing to all of you to really feel yourself surrounded by all of the qualities of God and creation and love as you go through the journey of your life. And we will connect now to the 4 angels surrounding on all sides. So while I sing, I also invite you to really imagine yourself being well held to your right, to your left, behind and above, and in front of you, to really feel yourself in a container of angelic presence. Elohim Yisrael.
Wow. All I can say is thank you so much. Your voice, your music has added so much, and I am so touched by how the messaging of the lyrics is just such a perfect message for this time of year and this group of people and everything. So thank you so much. You will notice that with each song that Alana played, there was a link in the chat box for you to access her music, and we'll do that again toward the end. Okay, now we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to ask Jane and Shira back to the screen. While each of them has spoken about the impact of four in the Seder and in our lives, their focus was completely different from one another. Jane shared more traditional learning, and Shira brought us some emotional insights. And those perspectives may not be as different as they seemed at first glance. So I want to give us just a few minutes to continue the conversation. And I want to acknowledge that this conversation in and of itself could go on for another hour. And sadly, we only have a few minutes, but let's at least start and give you guys something to think about. So one thing I want to ask is the four sons, the four children, the four matriarchs, however we talk about it, they are so easy to pigeonhole, right? The simple one, the smart one. But both of you alluded to the fact that yes, they're four individuals, but they could also be four sides of what, or four sides, because even Alana talked about the square, four sides of the same person, both from Pesach and textual point of view, and from the point of view of somebody who's facing cancer or another challenge in their life. So I'd love for each of you to just talk very briefly about that idea. Jane, you want to go first?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say when Shra got to the point about the you may feel pissy with your family, but they may need a break from you. First of all, she got to a point that I want to say about study, which is how this is personally. In that section on the Rasha, they say if somebody talks to you like that, haket et shinab, whack them in the teeth. So I think that inside the text, it even says like, people want a break from you, that kind of emotional response. You may be feeling that way, like really like, all right, but people have a response to you. And so it seems to me that this is a really good way to think about anytime you slow down anything you look at in Jewish wisdom or Jewish tradition and think about it from your own life. It's not just information. It becomes emotional. It becomes emotional. And like, sure, what you did so beautifully is just like pivoting, using your strengths, advocacy, feeling overloaded. I love the broken neck syndrome. Like, how are you? It's like that italicized speak. How are you? I don't want to tell you, right? It's not your business. Why would I want to? So for me, in thinking about using our traditions to ground us in ideas and making us know we're part of a long line of people, it also gives us permission to feel the feelings, because the feelings are embedded in the text too. Real people wrote these things based on real life experiences. And so, and I think you're 100% right. In any given day, I'm all four of these people. In all four of these people. And so I want to embrace all of them. And this also gives an interesting lens to be monitoring, like, oh, I'm really feeling like a Russia right now, or I'm really feeling like Chacham, I've got this information, or I want to share this information, or I need to just take it all in. And so in many ways, this becomes like a meditative practice or just a life skill practice to be able to turn the question like, how am I feeling in this moment? What am I thinking about? Who am I right now? And to embrace the 360 complexity of what we go through in life and what we experience, and to realize they're all Torah, they're all sacred, they all connect us to our history, and we're all human. And that kind of living connection we have to the Torah and to Jewish wisdom is very real. And that we can, and it's part of us, and that we can use it as a lens if we want,
It's amazing that what feels like pop psychology turns out to be long held wisdom that we are given, and what a gift that is. Shira?
Yeah, in the same way, I was thinking that Torah is also a map for us, right? So there are people who, think of Torah and are connecting it with holiness and with God. But I think even for people on a more practical level, are that it really can be a wonderful map. And I think, Jane, the way you laid that out, you can really see that. And, I can't help thinking that the matriarchs feels very powerful for me, because I think that in many ways, when we are going through the multitude of experiences, whether we're talking about a cancer journey, whether we're talking about what's going on in Israel, what's going on here in the States, is we kind of need the power of those strong women, right? And even within ourselves, to be able to parent ourselves, right? And, to really kind of be that matriarch for ourselves when we're feeling all of those things. So that was something that, that you really got me thinking a lot about. And you laid it out so beautifully about how we can do that, in terms of the matriarchs.
Thank you so much. A huge thank you to both of you. I wish we had longer, and maybe we will do a part 2 at some point, because it feels to me like these are issues bigger than just Pesach. But I have to be mindful of everybody's time, and I'm going to finish up, and then we have one more brief thing to do, and then we will conclude. So, for those of you who have attended these past type of Sharsheret programs in the past, you know that we ask you to participate in a chat waterfall. Today we're going to ask for something related to the number 4. During planning, we were sure we wanted to send you home with something you could add to your Seder. In the past, we might have sent recipes or things like that. Shira noted that there were so many famous quartets who would it be in each one that would be wise? Who would it be in each one that would be simple? So, for instance, I'm thinking that Kramer from Seinfeld would not even know how to ask. And maybe it's McCartney from the Beatles, who seems pretty wise to me. So what quartets would you include? They would be could be historical, religious, musical, pop culture, anything you want. And the idea is to name these quartets and sort of talk about, again, how it seems like, the Beatles are one, but they have 4 components, just like we've been talking about. And maybe that's something you could bring to your Seder. So I want you to think for a second about a quartet that you find meaningful or impactful. Add it to the chat, but don't hit return just yet. We'll give everyone a minute to type in their ideas, and then we'll count down and hear them all, or see them all in a second. Typing a couple in. Take a moment to type some in yourself. Okay, let's count down. When I get to 1, everybody hit send. 3, 2, 1, enter. All right, so we have a musical quartet, right? Flute, violin, cello, guitar. The Dar Boys, my sons who like my sons. Thinking about Jane Austen characters. That's a good one. Nights, 2 Seders at the beginning, 2 Hagim at the end, right? I went more pop, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mount Rushmore, Golden Girls, Wizard of Oz, 4 Directions, Mount Rushmore, 4 Matriarchs we talked about. Absolutely. Listen, some really creative ones, a lot of fun. And I promise you, when you receive our follow-up email with a link to the recording, we'll also include a few additional ideas, not quartets, because we seem to have that down, but a few additional ideas of four-based fun. I love that. Shalom, love, joy, and believe. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. I hope that as we get ready to usher in Pesach, you have each found something meaningful from today's program to share and to inspire you over the holiday. I want to thank Sharad Dubitsky and Jane Shapiro for sharing insights and ideas that will no doubt enhance our Pesach. And to Alana Brody for adding music and joy to our program. Her ways to find her music online are on the chat box now. And a special shout out to my colleague Rachel Teicher for her work behind the scenes today. Again, I want to thank our generous sponsors, Daiichi Sankyo, Merck, and the Cooperative Agreement 1906 from the CDC for their support of today's program. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation survey that is linked in the chat box now. You can click and still hear our final few moments, and a reminder how important your feedback is to us. And I want to let you know about another Passover focused webinar that's happening next week. Registered dietitian Tamar Rothenberg will be joining us to share tips to feast with focus as she discusses Passover nutrition in our next Sharsheret in the Kitchen series. You can register for that at the link that was just posted in the chat box. I love that these quartets, these groups of four, are still coming in. Thank you for that. As we conclude, please remember that Sharsheret is here for you and your loved ones. Our one-on-one support and other programs are designed to help you navigate through the cancer experience. All are free and all are completely private. And you can connect with us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. We're going to put the evaluation link in the chat box once more. And again, I want to thank you for joining us today. All of us at Sharsheret wish you and your loved ones a beautiful, meaningful Passover Chag. Thank you.